Welcome to episode 241 of Silver Lining for Learning. I'm very excited about today's episode because CAMFED is a Pan-African movement that has been around for quite a while. Unlike many of the things that we highlight on Silver Lining for Learning that are relatively recent, this is a program that's achieved a big impact because not only has it grown over time and reached scale, but also it's evolved over time as the world has changed and as more powerful technologies become available. So it's a really interesting journey. And Angie and Josephine both have a lot of experience with CAMFED in different ways. So, Angie, I'm going to ask you to start and spend 4 or 5 minutes telling us about your journey to this point in life and the role that you play in CAMFED, and then Josephine, I'll ask you to do the same thing.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris, for having Josephine and I here. We are excited to be here. And indeed, as you say, CAMFED has been here for a very long time. We should be partly covered by what I'm going to share. So I'm one of the first 32 girls supported through school by CAMFED. So that was years back. So please don't try and calculate my years. But that was years back. So I was just transitioning from primary school into high school. And at that point, I was destined to drop out of school because my parents didn't have the financial means to keep me in school. So, for schools in Africa, you pay levies, there are indirect costs like uniforms, stationery, and all of that. My parents could not sustain that. They were subsistence farmers growing enough just for us to feed on as a family. And at times that wasn't even enough. So at that point, that's when CAMFED was just being introduced into my community, and my community selected me for support. So that's how I got into touch with CAMFED for the very first time. So for the first time in my life, I had all school materials provided for. In primary school, before CAMFED came in, I remember really writing very small handwriting to make sure that I don't finish my exercise book too early. And I remember that actually for school breaks and all of that, where other children would go and play, I'd be very cautious because if my dress got dirty, where would we get the soap to wash it? And so I would always use my school breaks for at times reading books that were outside of my age because these books were just donated. And at times it didn't really matter which grade you were in. I remember reading books on engineering and I was just like 10, 11, 12 around there. But for the first time with CAMFED support, CAMFED provided me with school going materials. I had, decent uniform. There was a dress and, skate, and we had two of them so I could wash when the other one is drying and all of that. I had school exercise books, like the exercise book that you need to read on, pens for writing. We had menstrual products provided for, and, all the things that my parents could not initially afford were provided for by the organization. But also my parents came in. I remember my mom sold the 2 buckets of maize that we had to buy me a toothbrush because I was going to go to a school that was away from home. So to buy a toothbrush and blankets and all of that. So it was a whole community affair to support me through school. And we were supported as a group. We were 21 of us at the school that I went to. But just fast forward to say from that, I learned without fear. I need to say that. And for the first time, where you know that I can go to school, I can focus on school. Nobody's going to take this away from me. I'm not going to be all of a sudden told you didn't pay, so you can't attend lessons. And I did very well. But just to say that, I think a couple of years later, we had this turning point that I need to share about. So 400 of us, we had been supported through school by the organization, were brought together in one room. And at that point, I did not know we were that many. I just thought the 20 that I knew were the ones that were being supported. So 400 of us, all of us in the same room, were brought together. And this was to do an official kind of launch of the organization, but also celebration of, these girls have now completed school, the pass rates are okay, this is what could happen. And I just need to be able to say we were all coming from the most marginalized backgrounds, where less than 5% of us would complete high school. So this was a point of celebration. And when we met together, I just want to be able to say the stories there resonated a lot. It was like listening to somebody talk about your story about, oh, and then this is what happened. The struggle just to stay on hold, the struggle to learn while people were starving at home, there wasn't enough food. And in terms of the struggle to say, so what will happen next? But the most important thing that came out of that room is that's when we found the CAMFED Association network. This one, in that room, we decided we were going to support the next generation. We're going to pass the baton to others that were coming through the school system. And we're going to support them both financially, socially, just to keep their hold in school and to give them encouragement words. And so Justine will talk about that because she's a learner guide. Now we have a whole full-fledged learner guide program. But at that time, it just came out of we need to provide accompaniment for children that are coming through school. We also said we needed to support each other to figure out the next step. We're among the first in our group to have gone that far. So issues around how do you apply for jobs, how do you apply for college, all of that we did not know. It was not knowledge that existed in our community. So how do we get it was one of the things that we, figured out. And of course, the third thing was we're going to reach out to our communities to make sure that the journey is smoother. Everybody continues to support education and prioritize education. I was elected to be the first national chairperson for the alumni network, 400 of us. And that really just sets me on this path for CAMFED. Because at that point, when I was elected to lead the network, I started volunteering for the organization whenever, during school breaks, college breaks, and all of that. And yeah, everything started happening there. Volunteering, then I became first officer, rose through the ranks. Now I'm here. And like we were talking about this earlier, Chris, that, at times you find your heart and you do this and you love it, it's making a difference and you stay. So now I'm the CEO for the organization, how many years later? And my role in the organization is to be able to work with the boards, but also work with young women and communities and governments to be able to design what is it that we could do better and how could we do more of it and how could we do faster. But at the core of it is always how do we support more girls? How do we support communities to work with girls? How do we set more girls for success? Girls and young women remain at the core of it. But for us, I just want to be able to say, when we can design for them, it works for all children. So that's where I am at. That's my very long, short life.
Well, Angie, it's so exciting to have you here because you literally were present at the beginning and you've seen the whole flow of this take place over time. Josephine, tell us about you and your journey and what you do with CAMFED.
All right, thank you so much. Miss Angie is a big sister in the CAMFED Association Network, and I'm glad having this session with you all. I'm Josephine from Ghana, and I got in touch with CAMFED at a senior high level when I enroll into school at first year. We had the CAMFED coming in to select needy but brilliant students, and I had the opportunity to get in touch with the personnel that came around. I went through a series of interview. I filled the form actually, and then they interviewed us, did the shortlisting, and fortunately, I was selected. And the selection came about as in the fact that uh,
Josephine.
someone for background.
Mhm.
I was so happy to have that opportunity to be under the scholarship of CAMFED, and that has given me another hope. I had hope, and it has increased my hope. Let me put it that way. That the community in which I come from is not just it's not something that should limit what I want to achieve in life, but there's a bigger and there are people out there who really wants to support, and CAMFED came at the right time. And I can remember when they came in, just I offered science, and in Ghana here, when you are to offer science as a girl, and I was very little when I entered senior high, like people are like, you a little girl, why do you want to offer science and all that? And when CAMFED came in, they provided all the learning materials. Their core subjects were something that we were more focused on, and these were textbooks they provided us with, that you could just go sit down after lessons with teachers, and then you go through bit by bit, and then you get information outside classroom just to support you stay in touch and then go along with your colleagues in class. And I can also remember they gave us what is it materials like pens, books, and sanitary pad, menstrual pads, we call it, yes. And we also had the opportunity to have safe places. They provided us safe places to put our school materials, like the books they have given us. They gave us chop boxes to put them in and everything. And it has gone a long way to improve my confidence because I felt like, okay, this is something that is not open to everybody. It's an opportunity, and I call it a rare opportunity. And that was something that really inspired me. And I couldn't just hold the the joy of communicating with my family when I go home. Oh, I had an organization that came to the school, and I was fortunate to be part of the girls that were selected. And I could just see the smiles in them, and then the pride, the how proud they were of me getting that scholarship. And that inspired my family not to just say, oh, I'm a girl, but then they have seen that there's relevancy, that an organization has come up just to support a girl child who is ready to learn. And my parents were very happy, and I could see that they were really ready to support how far I'm going to go with CAMFED support. And now in CAMFED, I successfully completed with the support, and I had the opportunity to even attend scholars camp where they build our leadership skills, and it inspired me a lot. And after that scholars camp, I had the opportunity to vie in for the girls preferred, the head girl widely known. And though I couldn't win, but then it has given me head ups never to give up as a girl who wants to lead in the community. And when it comes to my leadership, I have really had that build up from comfort and the exposure given to me interacting with stakeholders within the community, and all that has really built me. And after completing school, I went ahead to join the CAMFED Association Network, where we were all inducted. You look outside and you're like, oh, over 1,000 students have completed, but then a lot of young women are gathered here. What is in for us? What are we going to do after this? And that was a question I asked myself, and I like, this is the time to give back. This is the time for me to let others understand the importance of what education, and then hold other young ladies or young girls who were dreaming either like me or beyond me, that there's a way for them, there's a possibility for them to achieve whatever they want. And I got enrolled into the learner guide program, where I have served. I had people going back to my alma mater to serve my juniors, immediate juniors, and they're like, wow, Sister Josephine, I want to be like you. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm really happy you people are doing these things. And I don't know how, when we complete, how do we go about it? And that alone have given me feedback of the inspiration I drew from the Comfort Association induction, that really others were waiting for us to come back and then share this impact we had for with them. And from there, I have got involved in a lot of community projects, helping people. Volunteerism was something I hold hard because I know that it's through such initiatives that I could learn and grow. And with the Comfort Association Network, we've been doing so well. And currently, I serve as the Comfort Association chairperson for my district. And it has been something I call a blessing to have people to network, to work with, to bring up ideas to support the development of our communities, the growth of young girls in the community. We serve as a network of inspiration. That is how I see Comfort Association, because sometimes when you go in a group in a particular community and you appear, then you introduce yourself. We are a group of young people. You see that young ladies, you see that they smile alone will tell you that yes, they were really waiting for big sisters like us to come and share information like that with them. And that has really gone a long way to help me till date with my learner guide program. It has helped me develop people ideas. They had ideas that they want to groom, and I've supported them in that regard. And I've also build people leadership skills, as in assisting them choose the roles they want to play in society, and all that. We've really if I say we, that is Comfort Association, we have really done that with much pride. That I always say I'm glad to be part of Comfort, and I'm proud to be part of the Comfort Association network, doing a lot out there. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, both of you. What you've each accomplished is amazing and of an important part of CAMFED's success. I want to just highlight a couple things as I listen to each of you that have been themes that have run across many of our celebrations on Silver Lining for Learning. Angie, you talked about how much you valued even having very basic things like a notebook, because when you're marginalized, things that other people take for granted are really very precious. And um, one of the things that we hear again and again is that people who've been marginalized, who are given an opportunity, are much more committed to taking advantage of it than people who are privileged. You know, a lot of privileged kids, they just take all of the stuff that they have for granted. They take school for granted. They're maybe even not that interested in it. But the tenacity and the resilience and the commitment of people who are marginalized when they're given an educational opportunity is just phenomenal. Um, I also listened as you talked about the alumni forming a community and ultimately forming a network and developing a model for continuing CAMFED. And that's another thing that I think we hear in Silver Lining for Learning is that people who've been deeply touched by education really see that they need to give back. They feel a sense of um, joy and gratitude for what has happened to them, and they want to be part of making that happen for others as well. And again, often that's just not true. I mean, people graduate and they just sort of take it for granted that and go on with their lives and don't really think about giving back. And some of the most powerful models come out of places that have fewer resources because there is this sense of you develop a commitment to the program. Um, you, I'm going to use a word you didn't use, but you talked about being sort of an outlier. Here I am. I'm a woman. People are not expecting a woman to show up and compete for their job and assume a leadership role. My younger daughter is adopted from India, and she's experienced a lot of this. Uh, she graduated in engineering, but she's small and she's a woman of color. And she looks like she's about 16 years old, even though she's 25. And so, people come into her workplace and they think that she's the high school intern. Isn't it cute? Here's this high school intern, learning something about engineering as a girl. Isn't that cute? And she's the lead engineer. And you can just sort of see the shock on their face when they realize and they have to, readjust what they're doing. But I think it is true that even with a great education, you still have to cope with being an outlier in your life. And that's an extra kind of a burden that the education has to prepare you for. It has to prepare you for the fact that it isn't a level playing field and that people may initially be dismissive until you're able to break through that ceiling that they want to put over you. Josephine, I also resonated to some things that you said that again we hear in other Silver Lining for Learning episodes as well, and I'll relate it again to my own life. Now that I'm semi-retired, as I stopped full-time teaching, some of the students that I've had over the years would reach out to me and say, congratulations, and I hope you enjoy the new phase of your life, and so on and so on. But I was interested in what they said because they said what I expected them to say. Thank you for teaching us. We learned a lot from you. Thank you for motivating us. You were an inspiration for us. But then most of them said something else. They said, thank you for believing in me And that really struck me, that it's so important, especially if society has told you that you're not worthwhile. That person or the people, your family, a teacher, somebody says, I believe in you. You are special. You are talented. Uh, I will help you succeed. That's a big part of it that goes beyond just the engagement and the learning, and that is really important in I can tell in programs like CAMFED that they celebrate you, they get your family to celebrate you. It really makes a difference. And then in turn, Josephine, of course, you're giving back, as I talked about earlier with the network, but you're a model. And the thing about a model is the model should be as much like you as possible. So in some ways, I'm a model to somebody in their 20s. But in other ways, I'm not. I'm just a hell of a lot older than they are, right? And, and I'm obviously as a man, I'm not necessarily going to be the ideal model for a young woman. But you,
Chris, as you talk about age, are you putting me in that bracket too? Because compared to Josephine with 20-year-olds, I'm also really out there.
well, I think you're so inspiring, Angie, that you overcome that barrier. But yes, I mean you have a huge impact because people say she is like me. She's close to me in age. She's like me in background. She's come out of obstacles and overcome them. I can do that too. That's so important and powerful. So let me introduce a different topic and ask, um, how has educational technology played a role in CAMFED? And it may not have played much of a role in much of CAMFED because, of course, especially historically, there wasn't a lot of infrastructure in Africa to support educational technology. I'm excited that that's starting to change now. Um, but I'd love to hear uh, how EdTech was woven into CAMFED where possible.
So I will let Justine start on that because we have and you're correct to say historically this has not been the reality, and it's not just historically. I also like that you use the word "it's starting to happen now," because I think key to keep in mind is CAMFED works in the hardest to reach communities in the countries that we work in. So we work in Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Tanzania, Ghana, and Kenya. And in those countries, we work in communities with the poorest educational outcomes for girls. And these, by no coincidence, are also communities where they've got the poorest road and communication infrastructure, where internet connectivity is not as good. But so I think it's just important to put that in a context as Josephine talks about, I think, an initiative that we've got on the table now, and she can talk about here before and after. And beauty of it, this is not even 40 years ago. This is as recent. So Josephine, you can talk about your work with Learner Guide Hub and all of that. And what's that like? Because that's weaving technology in education, right?
Thank you so much. Yes. So with we are in the era of technology, and we are all supposed to have that digital mindset, have that technical aspect of being um involved in the internet age, the digital age. And what we are doing at CAMFED is leveraging on the Learner Guide Hub, which I must say we have an agenda of making education inclusive and accessible to everybody. And how do we do this? Just by making the information we have accessible on a hub that you don't even need internet to access, even if you are in the poorest community. And this Learner Guide Hub is something that we use not to like Angie rightly stated, we just started, and we used to use the learner guide model to deliver our sessions. And these are hard copies of books we used to carry to our classrooms. So what if on our way it's raining? What happens if you get to the classroom and you have wet? Like, how do you protect some of these things? And the digital age is letting us make information more accessible, that if you are on the hub, you will be able to what access information. Now let's come back to the ages where we used to use the guidebook. Sometimes I used to travel like an hour or two to my school to deliver models, and carrying the book with the bag, and I have to carry some for my learners because it's a fun thing we do. We learn from the model, and then we have some fun activity we do that the students need to have access to some of these books. Though we have some in the school, but then sometimes you need some information that you need to carry more books to these schools. And carrying them was very heavy. Like, it's a heavy job for us to do. And with internet, with the technology that we are enrolling into the learner guide program, it's making these things become less of a burden, to carry much materials, learning materials to the center where you have to deliver models. But then you just get in there, have a device, then you log in, and you're able to access information to help you. And moreover, you are more protective of your devices when you are having them with you, and you can even just wrap them with something. Though we could protect the books as well, we used to protect them, but then I think carrying devices that are um light to handle, let me put it that way, and making it accessible to everybody at that moment is going to help. Now, back at the days then where my mom was a traditional birth attendant, and I used to witness her run just to go and seek help for a woman in labor who is having crisis or is like an emergency, then they have to get in touch. Those days, running was an option. But I think these days you just have to sit down and call a health center. Oh, I have this issue and I need your attention, your medical attention, because she might not have had that what is it, medical aspect of information or knowledge to assist this woman in labor. But then now technology is making things more easier for the real women, real girls to get access to information much easier and quicker. And as a learner guide, I can say that it has even given us more um it has impacted us more because we get the information that we have on the hub, and then we are able to even reach out to more, like a sister from another place, to get more information on things that we don't really have understanding to. Then I could just say, oh, Amalia is in Kumasi. I'm using Ghana in the context here, that she's in Kumasi, and through a session she has made a suggestion on the app. Oh, then I want it. I could just go on the app, and then I have information like the learner guide group. There's a group like that you can set up on the page. Then you invite a Kama sister to come in and then share that information you want with them. And that way, it's much easier than going out of the class to go and make a call or do something, then come back. No, but you could just put it on the page and say, okay, please, sisters, I want a little light on this, and then someone is there to provide. We also have information where we have to report, and it's just easy to access the app and then do reporting straightforward for our stakeholders to assess what we do, because we are being monitored, we are being supervised, and what we do needs to be reported. And we do that easily on the Learner Guide app. We also have other information on the app that you even have the opportunity. The first time I opened and I saw other languages, I was like, okay, so I'll read this sentence and I go back and I look at it and I was like, oh, this is what it's saying. So to me, it's like, oh, I'm learning another language as a learner guide. Like, it has given me the opportunity to learn a language in Zimbabwe, a language in Kenya, like all that in there. And I could ask questions like, oh, what is this word? Then I go back to read the 10 sentence. And it's giving us a bit, it's letting us understand that education can be done in different languages, and people should embrace that aspect of it, that maybe if I leave Ghana and I get to other countries, I have information provided in their context that I have to learn, adapt, and then also deliver through the hub. And I think one other interesting thing about the hub is it have sessions that you can just make recommendations. And in fact, being part of the development of the hub has been something I should say that it was so involving because learner guys, we are given the opportunity to make recommendations. And as and when we access this hub and we have information we give. So to me, technology has come to make education so inclusive. It has come to make education accessible, and it's going a long way to improve our digital skills in all aspects of our life beyond the learner guide role we do as CAMFED Association members. Thank you so much.
That's so amazing how much that hub has made a difference. Angie, is there something you want to add from a historic perspective?
Josephine, I think say this all very well. I'm a dinosaur when it comes to technology in the organization. They always joke and they call me, "Oh, Angie, you are BBC, born before computer." So, so I just, so for me, it's beautiful to see what the Learner Guide Hub has done in terms of enhancing communication and connection across learner guides who are, because we have got over 23,000 learner guides in the organization across 6 different countries. But what the Learner Guide Hub has allowed is for them to be in one community and to be able to exchange ideas. So you're not alone. You're talking about being an outlier, but imagine being part of a community of over 23,000 saying, "Oh, I'm going to touch on this topic today. Any ideas, any suggestions?" So there's a lot of creativity and peer support and all of that goes on there. So, and also there's issues around contents that comes in. And Josephine just talked about the reporting facility. So for us, it's also about reporting because we also look into how many hours of student support have we had this year and how many others, like what was it about? What are the questions that are coming? So we use it also as a tool to be able to improve how we work. But the beauty of it is it's also really tailor-made for the audience, right? Because, we come from the, remotest districts. So the fact that we had to be careful about issues of bandwidth, that it's something that could be used in the hardest to reach communities. There are offline versions that they could be able to use. It's all of the things that, we're taken on board and all of that. But I also just want to say generally talking about use of technology for the organization overall, besides just the learning, we also very deliberate about building technologies into the work that we do. So for example, we use a lot of mobile money for, activities on the ground and all of that. And to be honest, one of the painful things have been to see parents who are illiterate having to navigate mobile money facilities and having to navigate technology. You talk about that's really brutal. And I know when you're talking about feeling like an outlier and the benefits of this, for us at times it's not even seeing those who have had the privilege, it's seeing those who did not get the same chance that you got and seeing just how precious and important that is and how you reach on that. So just to say technology is a great tool, but unless we are very proactive about it and very deliberate about it, it can continue to widen the gap between access to information and equity issues and all of that. But it's here, it's inevitable, and we're embracing that as an organization and collectively looking into how do we use it both in our operations, but also in CAMA connectivity. The CAMFED Association is now over 350,000 young women. I don't know how we would have stayed together, very connected like that without technology. When we just started the CAMFED Association, I remember we used to write letters to each other. I think you remember them, snail mail with postage stamps. It would take 6-8 days for the letter to get where it needs to go and 6-8 days to come back. Right now, Josephine's generation, they send me a text message and 2 minutes later they are phoning. "Are you okay? Are you alive?" So it's all of those things that, technology has really made possible, but it's how do we continue to make sure that we're not leaving others behind as we embrace it. But also how do we stay alert to cybersecurity issues of cyberbullying, particularly for girls and young people, issues around how do we stay safe online are also some of the things that we look into as an organization and ensure that we navigate that together collectively.
Well, I too, Angie, was born pre-digital. And, as far as my children were concerned, I was born shortly after the dinosaurs became extinct. It's kind of that kind of a gap And I tell them about, I grew up in a cold climate and high school was some distance away. And I tell them about walking to and from high school in the snow with the wind in my face and that it was uphill both ways and, all my books. And they just kind of roll their eyes. But seriously, it is powerful now to have these hubs. One of the people who has been a guest several times on Silver Lining for Learning is Professor Paul Kim, who was at Stanford for many years and now is working out of South Korea, his native country. And he has done a lot of work with setting up hubs, as you say, Josephine, in areas that don't necessarily even have electricity on a regular basis, let alone internet, and how you can use, relatively inexpensive technologies that's still expensive for a marginalized group, but relatively inexpensive technologies to create, local networks and servers that have a lot of different kinds of interactive materials on them and so on. And that's been something that I think has changed a lot of things. We've also had people from other parts of Africa who've talked about solar now, that the opportunity to set up a solar station, even in a remote village, and all of a sudden the electricity is better, and the communications are better, really
And you
makes a
can read
difference.
at night in a way
Yes,
that we couldn't read during our time, But
yes.
then you write the same national exam with everybody else.
It is changing. It's changing and in powerful ways. And it also changes the families. And Josephine, this is something that you talked about in decades ago in the US, when laptops first came out. One of the rural states, Maine, had something quite unusual. It was a state-sponsored laptop initiative where all of the kids in the state, in public education, in middle school, would get a laptop. And they could take it home and they could work on it at school. It was quite a controversial program for a while. A lot of people in Maine didn't like the idea. Often parents are very traditional about education. They want you sitting in a row and listening to lectures. What's all this about the laptop? But then what happened is when the kids took it home, it was the first device in the family because the families were marginalized. So it was the first time the parents were exposed to digital, and the kid got to, be the expert and explain to their parents and show their parents, and that opened up economic development that the state had not anticipated. That it became a route to economic development for families. And so all of a sudden, that laptop program went from being unpopular to being hugely popular because the families said, wow, this is a resource for all of us. It's not just a resource for the kids.
And Chris, just I think while you're on the same point around access, one of the things that we actually even experience up to now, and Justin, you can speak to this as well, is at times the family have got one smartphone, even now as we speak. So you've got one smartphone, that's the only smartphone for the family. So while, and this was one of the crises during COVID, particularly, that how do you hold lessons with one smartphone when there are 3, 4 children with different classes in the house? And it's the same one that we use for mobile banking for the family. It's the one that we want to use for any health information that we have got. It's the one that it's the one mobile. And the other thing is, also, you're relying on solar, right, for charging. So if you do not have the solar facilities to charge it, so there's been huge developments, but there's still a lot of people that are being left behind, even as we talk about this. We have got what we call the CAMFED Association dialogues every Friday. So this is open to all our 350,000 members. But this is the opportunity where we get young people to come and talk about. So somebody could say, I'm an engineer. This is how I've gone through the journey and this is what I'm learning. And at times we just talk about an issue that has come up, or can we talk about teen pregnancies, what we are doing? But it's our place for learning and sharing. And I'll say to you, at times we have got you might have like 50 or 100 logins. And then you say, so who are you sitting with? And you realize that there are 10, 15 people that are sitting around one mobile phone and it's on loud because they're all listening in. So I just wanted to be able to say that even in this time and age, even where you think mobile phones, everybody's got them. And also the other thing is the cost of data, right? So one gadget connected, you're using one gadget, one just data platform. You don't have 7 gadgets logged in. So it's all of those things that people are making do with technology. It's inevitable. It's here, and people are making do, but they could be better with more resources. I'll say that.
Well, and something I've heard again in other Silver Lining for Learning episodes, if there's one phone in a family, often the girl is at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
And that's a problem too, that
It's
how do you
resource,
get your
Chris.
fair share? I
It's
see
what
you
you do with
smiling,
limited
Josephine, so
resources.
you know what this is about.
Yeah, but Jacinth, you want to talk about, because for what we do as well, Chris, for us, we provide mobile phones for our guides. So they've got mobile phones dedicated to them. But I also say that the reality is for us, mobile phones are tools for use, right? But they are accompanied by guides. That's why we have over 23,000 learner guides across communities, because by the end of the day, it's the individuals, the human beings, you're talking about relatable role models in the community who are at times able to cross that barrier. Because so if a child is going through a difficult circumstance, whatever, they cannot use the mobile phone to call for help, to ask a crisis, because it's a public family phone. So this is where having learner guides like Josephine, who are in the community, can also come behind that and really support and make sure that that's available. So there is all these issues around transition, but like everybody wants to remind all of us, you can never really replace a human. It's a tool for work. It's not for taking over.
And I just want to also add that I was privileged. I think the first time I was able to have access to phone was through my service as a learner guide, that I had access to phone. And it has really helped, even beyond my guide role. It has helped me to make research about further educations and stuff. And like we are all saying, without that, I don't know, you would have had, but then it will go a long way. Like, okay, what are you going to use the phone for? What are, if they see you so busy on the phone, they begin to ask questions. Please, I need the phone to do this, I need the phone to do that. And that is the aspect all of us are in experiencing with the technology that is inevitable in our of age now. But then it's really a great tool. It's a great tool that we make use of. Yeah. Thank you.
So as usual, our time is going by quickly, but I want to ask a question that we often ask. CAMFED is not only an initiative that's helping across many countries, many young women. It's also a model. So it's a model of how a group can impact an entire region, maybe even an entire continent, to help marginalized people. And we may have listeners who hear this podcast and they say, wow, I would like to do that in my country, or I would like to do that in my region, for this group or for that group. What advice would you have for someone who's listening who says, I want to start something like CAMFED, but within my own culture, within my own, marginalized groups? What advice would you have?
Let you just start with that. Do you want to
Okay,
go
all
ahead?
right. All right, great question. I think anybody that sees what others are doing, I have a mentor who once told me that this life we are living, we are reliving, and it's an opportunity for us to make inventions that will support the development of communities. And doing this, you need to understand where you are. You need to understand the people you are working with. You can't think for them. Let me say that. And you can't say, oh, this is what I'm seeing, and that is what they are facing. Possibly they have different challenges or pressing needs that need to be addressed than what you are seeing. So I think what the advice I would give to someone who wants to start something like this is to what? Get to understand the background of the people you want to work with. That's one thing you should look out for. Yes, you have seen a problem, like research would do. You have defined a problem, you know what is, but then you need to go and ask the right people the right questions so that you'll be able to establish something that will benefit their immediate need, not something you think they need, but then their immediate need as in what you get from them. And another thing we should look out for is the sustainability. Sometimes we watch in to develop a program and afterwards we just complete school and they say, oh, we are done with you, and that is it. Everybody goes, yes, we are empowered, we had the opportunity to get education to work. That is the sustainable, the backbone of CAMFED. I would say is the CAMFED Association, because we are helping it realize the its mission of what girls before a child in the real community at large. And so I think building that sustainability stand for your idea from the community in which you're going to implement in mind, you need to have that sustainability mind of making it bring back what you need to let the community appreciate what you are bringing to them. And another thing too, I think someone who wants to establish something like this should look out for is what the fact that technology is taking over the world, and then you should build that digital mindset in the people that you are going to incorporate such a thing that will help them get access to the world at large, just not their immediate community. And so in bringing digital accessibility to whatever you are going to do, you need to let these people be abreast, even with the technical idea of what the digital world we are in, and then let them have access to devices that will connect them to the information that they really need to exist or develop themselves and the community at large. So I think these are the three basic things that I will base my advice on. Thank you so much.
Angie, do you have things you want to add?
Oh, thanks so much. I think Justina said all the key things, right? Don't think for them. She has also said that, think sustainably, think beyond just you. How does this outlast you, outlive you, but also like think about technology. I just want to add to what she said. I think for me, the first point that she started on around respect for the community that you would like to work with. Don't assume that they are empty, that they don't think. We talked earlier on about believing in somebody or believing in something. Usually, people might be totally believing in something. The crisis is when they do not have the resources to see it to come through. So don't confuse at times a lack of resources for a lack of ideas and solutions to what needs to be done. So really, really collaborate, partner, and listen to the people who are affected. They know what's going on and the solution that they might have. Don't confuse lack of resources for lack of ideas and suggestions, or lack of will, rather, which is the worst. And then the second thing I would say is, if this matters to you so much, always think scale. It's similar to what she was talking about sustainability. Think scale. Think about how do we do this faster in this generation, in this lifetime. So to do that, think about partnering. Think about who else you can partner with to make sure that the results, come faster or come better or come, at scale. So always think of, don't be selfish about, transform ideas that can transform lives. Think about, how do I bring other people in here? Who can I partner with? And at times it's people that you would not want to partner with, but if you care more about the ultimate result, you realize that you build bridges rather than burning them. So think about partnership, think about collaboration, think about how do we do this at scale and get that done. And finally, I would not be doing justice to what we do if I don't do this. I always say that, think about education as the ultimate solution. For me, it always begins with education. Education provides people with agency, with a weapon, with means for them to transform their lives. So always invest in education. And while at it, I want to encourage them to always go to CAMFED website. For CAMFED website, you get ideas around girls and young people with very limited resources who are doing amazing things with their communities, told in their own narrative, in their own words. It could be somebody who is giving their uniform that they were using last year to the next child who's going to school. So nothing is too small. Always think about those ideas. So there's a world of ideas on CAMFED site on how you could show up in this world in this time. But always remember, invest in education, and all SDGs are linked to it: health, food security, state security, all of that. Justice, it's all linked to education. So give people an opportunity to go to school and to learn.
Well, that's
and don't
both
doubt
of you.
Yeah. Don't
Both
doubt
of
you.
you
The fact that you
have
thought
given
it.
wonderful advice, and I see a lot what you're talking about, that people assume that groups that are marginalized are broken, and they want to come in and fix you. And instead, it's about empowerment.
Yeah.
It's about, as you said, listening and respect, and not having your own goals for other people, but listening to their goals and then thinking about, how do I help you? How do I help you get to what you want to do and what you want to be? So that's a very important lesson that too often gets lost. So one quick final question, I'll just ask each of you for a minute or two on this. Where would you like CAMFED to be in, say, 5 years? If things go well, and I understand that they often don't go well, but if things go well, technology keeps moving forward, countries and communities recognize the value of CAMFED, where would you like to see it in 5 years?
Justin, do you want to start?
You start for me.
You want me to start? No, but you also have got your own picture of where you want it to be. Mine is easy. Yeah, but you go ahead. Mine is easiest one.
Yeah, so 5 years from now, I expect to see CAMFED be of reach to most marginalized girls in the rural community, and we are going to support that as CAMFED Association, spreading the impacts, our multiplier effects, getting information that the rural communities need to actually develop themselves in the community at large. And I also look forward to seeing more partners like coming on board to support the mission of CAMFED, so that we can have what we want to achieve in life being seen, the results being seen in young people within the rural communities. I think just I joined CAMFED in 2014 till date, and I think there's some transformation that even when you sit to reflect, nobody have to come and tell you that just when you've come far. No, it has given it. We expect to see more people grow in their skills. We will expect to see communities accept education as a tool of change for young people, and then we want to see that people are leveraging on what they have, the resources they have, to support CAMFED to achieve its goal in 5 years' time to come. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Justin. I should have said this first because you took everything I was gonna say there. So just to say, Chris, for me, we have got a strategic plan as an organization for, where we should be. But it says 2030, you're giving more years than that. I think for me, one of the things that we really want to be able to have is so that people like me, like Josephine, are not the outliers. Right? That is the norm. It's the norm for girls from communities like ourselves to be going through education, to be going and into degree programs, into doctorate, into leadership positions, wherever they want to be, that they also have an opportunity to do what they want to do with their life. We're still not talking about, only 5%, only one. That's my dream. And, yes, you say if it works, it's our commitment, right? So Change is the constant. We have rode the tide and it gets worse at times every day. We're talking about that earlier, but this is our commitment to make sure that as many girls, as many children as possible from marginalized communities get their chance and their shot at education. The CAMFED Association, to Josephine's point, will be 500,000 members in the next 3-5 years, right? So that's a whole movement of young women that are accompanying more girls from the backgrounds that we come from, not just by being role models, but by living it and investing in it. She talked about our multiplier. Right now, on average, each of the young women supported through school by CAMFED supports 3 other children to go to school. We are all working collectively as the CAMFED Association to increase that multiplier to 5, so that on average, everybody is supporting 5. And we are doing that through supporting each other, employment, creation of employment, and all of that, so that we increase that multiplier. And overall, as CAMFED, will have supported 8 million children this decade alone to go through school. So we are not negotiating, we are not packing, we are looking at bigger, we are looking at better, we are looking at more, and we're looking at faster in this time. So 5 years from now, we are not paralyzed by what's happening. If, in fact, we are actually energized and saying, if there's a better time to support children to go to school, it is now.
Well, thank you both for sharing. This is such an exciting movement and such an inspiring movement. And both of you are just terrific spokespeople for the cause. So I know that our listeners will benefit from this. And I'm just want to say again how important the work is that you're doing and what hope it gives me for the future in terms of releasing all the trapped intelligence that we now see around the world. So thank you very much for being on Silver Lining for Learning, and happy holidays.